getting into American Ninja Warrior is insane at the age that you were even starting to consider some of this stuff. So before we get to that, can you tell us a little bit about your interest in fitness altogether? Like, have you always been into, things like resistance training? We talked about your dancing and filming and all this stuff. Like for you and physical health, like how interested have you been in the early part of your life, with your own physical health?
Well, I was a dancer, like you said, and when I was in third grade, actually, my parents put me into a dance class, and it was modern dance, which is interpretive dance. And it was because I was extremely shy and just didn't talk. And dance is a form of conversing and telling stories. And so it stuck with me, and I continued it until I decided at age 20 to go to New York to become a professional dancer. And that was a rude awakening because I grew up in Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. So at 20 to go to New York City was quite an adjustment. So, and I went on scholarship with some dance companies. I danced with a dance company as well. And then I kind of branched out into trying to do more acting. And that's when I started to audition for Broadway shows. And one of them was Pippin. And that was a great experience. It was a Bob Fosse choreographed it, and he's famous for the jazz hands. And I worked with the show on the road for a little while, and then I came back to Broadway and did it and got to understudy a role, which was, one of those moments in your life that you go, I am playing a lead in a Broadway show. And that was just so exciting. I didn't think you could get in a better position than that. And so I worked with that for a while and then kind of transitioned, as you said, to TV commercials. And those were great. It was a great way I got married and had family, and you work one day and you get residuals for, sometimes five years later. And we didn't have DVRs at that time. We're talking about the 70s, 80s, a little bit into the 90s. And so people actually watched these commercials, and they did 60-second commercials, and they were neat. And I've told some stories about the special effects that we had at that time too. We're not as they weren't like this. So there was one, you might enjoy this story, or your audience might. I worked on a commercial called Sizzline, and Sizzline was a kind of no-fat bacon, if you can imagine. And
Okay.
so I said, move over bacon. There's something leaner. And from the frying pan, they would take the bacon, and it was attached to fishing wire, and the man was up on a scaffolding, and he would lift up the bacon and move it at the same time I was saying that. And so one of the things I like telling about that was not only the special effects, which were
Incredible.
very manual, but if you, as an actor or actress, don't get your line right when the product, which is the main character, when the product finally gets it perfectly done, that's not good. So you need to really be prepared at every moment because, again, the emphasis is on the actual product. So that was a great way to raise a family and to, work once in a while, audition a lot. And I did, everything from Jordache jeans to Wonder Bread and GM cars and let's see, all detergent and oh my gosh, just plenty of Signal mouthwash. So
Wow, that's so cool.
yeah, it was a really fun time, and a lot of them are on YouTube, so people can see them,
Oh,
which are,
good.
are fun
Perfect.
as well. Um, from there, actually, it was the greatest golden time of my life, but sometimes good things come to an end, and my marriage dissolved, and I had to move out to I had to leave the city. I had to give up acting, which I promised myself someday, even if I had to be a granny, I would come back and do acting. And that was the saddest part that I had to give up. But we moved to a place in the Poconos on a lake. It was gorgeous, but it was very hard to live there. And many people said, like they did when I went to New York, you're never going to, thousands of people go there. You're not going to be able to get work. And the same thing with going into the Poconos. It was like, you're not gonna, you've never had a real job. What are you gonna do with two kids and being single? So that was a life-changing time, and I think it was a great time for the kids because they were outside. They didn't have cell phones or computers, and they kind of lived the way I did growing up, which was unusual. I mean, we just didn't have the cable TV, and they were outside all the time. But we did have blizzards, and that's when I think the kids both learned from me was um, self-sufficient. You have to be self-sufficient because nobody else is going to come to your rescue. And that was, I think, a big thing for the kids to learn, and also just not giving up. Just, you gotta you're stuck in the house for a week, and nobody can get back to you because we were very far back in the woods. So it was really the best of times too. But time went on, and fast forward, I met a man, we got married, and uh, moved to Maryland first. The kids had their high school and went through that. They went off to college, and my husband and I retired to North Carolina. So now we're getting into the territory of Ninja Warrior. This is the time I could go to my daughter. Her name is Jessie Graff, and she was on American Ninja Warrior and had been for many seasons. And I was able to go out and watch her and cheer for her. So I was her cheerleader. Um, and I saw her up there, and she just had such grace and fitness and health and confidence. And she had muscles. Now, she grew up doing gymnastics and pole vaulting in college. So she had the upper body strength that my generation of women were never encouraged to do. We had the women's push-ups. Half a court in basketball. We're too fragile to do many of the things that they say today. Um, and I always tell people they have to get rid of those stereotypes because so
Good.
much of it is not healthy for you. You need to
Great.
to get strong. But I saw her and I went, Jesse, I want to get stronger. And that was it. I didn't want to lose weight, gain weight. I didn't want to do anything but get stronger. And so she said several different things, but what stuck with me was do pull-ups. So I tried, I got the bar, put it in the door frame, and kept, working at it. And I sent her a video. I had little handles coming down from the bar, and I was, getting a little bit up and down. And she said, Mom, I'm so proud of you for trying to do this. And, it's great, but that's not a pull up. And I went, huh? She said, you have to get your chin all the way over the bar and go all the way down straight. So I went to a personal trainer because I'd never lifted weights. And you had asked me about this. I had never been in a gym or done sports until I was 63. And that's when I started working on strength training.
Nothing. No
No
experience. Had
gym,
not. No gym.
just dance.
Wow.
Dance and swimming in the lake and that kind of thing, recreational, um you know running around with the kids. So we always tried to make things fun, or biking, the simple things. But yeah, it was kind of funny when I went to the personal trainer to do strength training because when they're talking about squats, I'm thinking, plie is much more artistic than a squat. And I'd call it releve, to go up on your toes, and I just couldn't get out of my dance mode or mind. And still to this day, I find it kind of interesting that I've gone from Broadway and dancing to barbells.